Alright guys, today we are going to be reacting to 3 American lives I don't believe anymore after visiting Europe. Thank you so much for the support, guys. We're going to react to the old James Bray. Great content creator. He's been in Europe multiple times, so he has a little bit of that infield, I would say, ground game when it comes down to Europe. So let's see what's going on here. Guys, make sure that you like to subscribe. We're getting up there when it comes down to subscribers. Thank you so much for the support. But hey, we're gonna simply jump in. Let's go.
What is the perception of Americans to the world? When I was little, I distinctly remember my father traveling to and from Germany a lot on business, and it kind of sparked the fascination that I eventually wound up having in traveling to Germany.
Dude, this is crazy. This is crazy. Probably one of the craziest things I've seen since being here, man.
I would hear stories all the time. I was very curious. I would ask him, I'm like, okay, what's there to do out there? I knew nothing about Germany at this time. And he's like, oh, okay, well, the food is really good, and they got all these different cuisine and whatnot.
Oh man, ooh. Ooh. Wow.
Oh, maybe another bite. Oh my God.
The people are very friendly. The society looks really cool. The architecture is amazing. And it got me very hyped. I'm like, oh my gosh. And mind you, at the time, I'm like 10 years old. So I'm like, wow, I can't wait to visit. It became a goal of mine to travel to the country until I got on a phone call with my grandmother one day. I was about, again, 10 years old. And we were talking about a lot of different things, a lot of different goals. And I'm like, oh, you know what? Like, I think I'm actually pretty interested in traveling to Germany. And she shut that whole dream down in a heartbeat. In fact, it was with
incredible, and this is a good sign. This is a good conversation and a safe way for this. This is why your dream, you have to save your dreams. You have to save your dreams. This is the reason. If you tell your dream to people, people are going to shut them down because that means that they have to confront their own. So, thankfully, he didn't listen. He just managed to just follow his dream. But that's what happened.
Mongering propaganda. She's like, oh yeah, well, if you travel over to Germany, I just hope you know, don't be surprised if you wake up in a bathtub full of ice with your kidneys missing. And I'm like, oh, I mean, I don't want that. That don't sound too good. And I'm like, okay, well, I guess I'm not traveling to Europe, let alone Germany. And I realized that is a scare tactic that a lot of people are subjugated to in America. Not like on that scale. Honestly, sometimes on that scale, but just generally the fear of traveling has been kind of embedded in a lot of Americans, which has prompted people to not even leave their local towns. Now, of course, finances play a large part in that, but the desire to travel has been like wiped pretty much from a lot of Americans based on the fear of the unknown, which I think is kind of unfortunate. So, of course, fast forward to 2023 and I traveled to Germany for the very first time, and I'm happy to say I still have my kidneys. It was amazing. It was incredible.
Shout out to James,
I had
man.
a whole bunch of videos on my channel about Germany. I had learned so much about the culture, the language, its people, and it was incredible. I was able to visit Cologne, Germany, and the cathedral was the first thing I was greeted with when I stepped outside of the Hauptbahnhof.
Yo, that's crazy. Oh my God. That's what the fuck? Dude, it looks like a Photoshop kind of thing. What the heck?
And I was like, oh my goodness, this looks incredible. I don't think I'd seen anything that old, that elegant, beautiful, and intricate in my entire life. And it was
that, and you know, even though I went to Italy, it's just Italy. When I went there, it looked so much like Puerto Rico, man. It really didn't. You know what I'm saying? When I got into Tuscany, it literally looked like the town that I went to do my bachelor degree. It didn't, because Puerto Rico has a lot of that old Spaniard architecture, so it really hit me. But I want to go to Germany, guys, for that same reason. I know it's gonna hit me like a damn bat in my face, like hitting my face with a bat. I went to Bulgaria. It was okay. It was not wow. It was cool to see some of the Soviet kind of statues. That was kind of well, that was nice. And then I played in the like a concert hall that was kind of communist style. I don't know. It was kind of weird. I played with the orchestra right there. I played the Beethoven Piano Concerto number 3. I don't know if you guys are, yeah, but I played that. And personally, I think, right? Personally, that train of thought. I just missed my train of thought. I think this is important to have these kind of experiences as an American.
In front of me. I was looking at it in person. I was only a few meters away from this absolute masterpiece, and it really opened up my third eye when it came to traveling. I'm like, oh my gosh, there's got to be more of this. And of course there was. I got to try some really good food. I met some really cool people that I'd like to call lifelong friends now, and it was an enriching experience. And I'm like, okay, I realized from traveling just how small the world was. But one of the biggest lies I was told in America was about the American dream. And I'm pretty sure you guys have heard of this, right? And again, as I'm traveling, I'm ingesting my entire environment. I'm trying to learn. I'm listening to people. I'm studying how people behave and whatnot. The American dream, what is that exactly? Well, the American dream is, and I quote, a core concept in American culture generally understood as the ideal that anyone can achieve success and prosperity through hard work and determination regardless of their background. It implies a society where individuals have the freedom and opportunity to improve their lives and achieve their goals. Now, is this true? To an extent, yes, but hear me out. There's a lot of holes in this theory. One of the biggest things is people have taken the American dream, and by people I mean Americans, right? They've taken the idea of the American dream and have perpetuated this ideology that everybody wants to flock to America. And while that might have been closer to the truth at some point in time, right now I feel like America has made so many enemies, it is diabolical. One of the things that a lot of people dunk on America about is our education system, our healthcare, the safety in America. We're going to get into all of those as well, and the lack of all of those things, right? The safety in America is actually insane. If you look at the amount of mass shootings we've had, especially when it comes to school shootings, it's deplorable, and it's so common we've become desensitized. At this juncture, we have gotten to a point where we're comparing how ruthless each mass killing has become in America, and it's unfortunate.
Yeah, but that's more like mental health. We have a problem with mental health, And our cities, we don't want to talk about that. I'm not going to talk about that. I'm not going to talk about that. This is not the video for this, but I'm just going to keep moving forward.
Makes it harder for people to want to go and explore places in the United States without the fear of getting their souls yeeted from their bodies. So when I navigated Germany and whatnot, it was really cool. I got to do things that I would not normally be able to do in the United States, like drinking in public.
Yeah, that's a very important one, yeah.
Oh, this is good though. This is really
It's very weird being able to drink beer out in the open like this, because I know in America I'd be fried.
You can actually go outside with a beer bottle and consume alcohol in public. And I know that doesn't sound like a big deal to you guys, but to me,
Yeah,
that is massive.
it is a big deal. And again, I have to say this is because the culture that we have in the United States is very responsible when it comes down to these kind of, because it is kind of, if it is a freedom, think about this, it's a freedom that you can do this in Germany or in many places in Europe. But not only that, there's a responsibility of you handling that freedom with consideration for others. See, in the United States, we're not like that. We want to be loud. We want to tell everybody that we're just walking with that beer. See, it's a little bit ignorant on that regard, you see?
Automatic, you're going to get arrested. You're going to get approached by a cop and arrested immediately. I mean, you can't do that. But over there, it just felt so open and freeing. There were so many different types of things that you could do where I was like, wow, like America couldn't handle something like this, obviously. And it was normal. And on top of that, I didn't have this hostile feeling. Now, of course, I was only visiting, so it's going to be hard to get that type of vibe. I feel like if you land and you're like, oh my gosh, like you have the rose-colored glasses on and you can't really see things for what they are. Germany.
That's more like we call that the placebo effect, right? When you see everything and everything's kind of nice, right? Everything is nice and everything is perfect. Well, then, of course, with time you might see the things that you don't like. It's like everything. I don't think that's only in this particular case. It's just like everything.
society, but I do think that there are a lot of things that America could learn from Germany. America
Agree.
is also far from perfect. There are a lot of things that I feel like America could improve. One of the biggest things I think the United States can learn from Germany and even Europe as a whole is the ideology of what freedom truly means, or the ideology of what success truly means. Because in the American dream, it's like anybody can achieve success, and when we define success, it's millions
Money.
of dollars,
Yep.
mansions, materialistic things, right? Materialistic items that cost a fortune. That is the grind. You want to build generational wealth, and that is the common denominator when it comes to the American dream. In Europe, success is actually so much more relaxing. From what I've observed when I traveled out there, how I perceived success and how the people in Europe operated and whatnot was just the ability to work enough to enjoy the simplicities of life, right? Just going outside on a simple walk or biking to a
that's very good. I
location,
like that.
spending time with friends, truly appreciating your settings, your surroundings, and even solitude. And I'm like, oh my gosh, for the first time ever, I realized I needed to slow down and take things in and really appreciate my life.
True.
You know, I think there is this mentality.
And you know what? That is a good point. That's a good point. And we talk about this, right? How I was working in my last job, and I felt it like I was getting killed. And some of my coworkers, they have like 7 eye bags, like they look like stairs. That's how bad it was. And I'm like, I don't want to be like that. I don't want to be that person that's looking stressful in the morning. I'm telling you, my upper managers, they were like, I'm like, I don't want to follow you. I don't want to be you. And you're just making another $5,000 more than me. And probably I'm over. I personally, I think I over earned them because I was doing YouTube on the side. I just managed to even 70,000. I managed to just get like 75,000 a year kind of thing, almost 80K. But at the same time, I was like, man, this is ridiculous. This is not making sense. I'm tired. I'm working 10 hours a day. Not only that, and the way they do it, they're always reviewing you. It's just so unwelcoming. Very unwelcoming. And the passive aggressiveness, that's another one. But I don't want to get into that.
In America, where we're always worried about the next thing, the next big thing. We're not doing enough. We need to keep grinding constantly and working hard. I'm pretty sure you guys have heard the saying, Americans live to work and Europeans work to live. What fascinated me was the amount of people that actually enjoyed eating outside, for instance. I know in America, in some places it's like that, but it's not as common as it is in Europe. I mean, oh my gosh, the usage of parks, let's talk about that. The usage of parks was incredible. Like the second Germany had even a shroud of good weather, everybody, I'm saying hundreds of thousands of people were out.
That's
in those
very
parks,
nice.
filling up everything, picnics, bunch of friends, their pets, everything packed.
Wow.
And I'm like, oh my gosh, I was not used to seeing that. And it felt very refreshing. And it had me reconsidering what I wanted in my life. Because I'm like, initially, I'm like, oh, I'm going to grind so hard. I'm going to make all this money.
No, hold on.
And I'm like,
No, James, you have to. No. You have to grind, my guy. You have to. I'm sorry. Grinding is what got you here, man. You see, you should not. No, you're learning through this, but you should not stop. You're young, man. This is the time to grind. And you're not. It's grinding on Facebook and YouTube, bro. Like, this is the time. This is the time. Maybe in the future you want to move to Europe, but you have to make that wealth now to enjoy this. Truly, guys, truly, I'm telling you, truly. James, you should not stop. Learn from Germany, learn from Europe, but hey, at the same time, don't stop, man. You're doing very well. And remember, you're not working outside the weather. You're not doing that, man. You're not doing construction. You're doing something that a lot of people don't consider to be difficult. A little bit difficult because I do content creation. It's kind of what really kills content creation is the consistency. How consistent can you be? Right? How consistent can you be? And a lot of people, they cannot sustain this. You're not doing a lot compared to somebody that was working in construction, right? And you're probably making good money. I would say keep doing what you're doing, but at the same time, just learn. to learn. And then you just keep enjoying your life, because what happens is you pull back a little bit. YouTube, sometimes YouTube be acting kind of weird, bro. And all of a sudden your channel goes to the to the dark rooms. You get shadow banned. That's my
Take a
opinion.
step back and genuinely appreciate what I already have. And that was the ideology I feel like that success has in Europe versus America. America, it's all about the hustle and bustle. It's all about being highly competitive and who you can outdo and who you can outpace. But in Europe, it's a lot more laid back. And you can see that in how the society is structured. I mean, just look at the amount of vacation days the
Yeah, that's
average
true,
European
man.
can have in comparison to Americans on average. On average, Americans only get about 2 weeks of
Yeah, I hated that. I hate it. Guys, I'm telling you, I hated that. And I told you about my story where my daughter was sick, and then I need to just take some time off. I had to go through this process of calling here, there, click buttons. At the end, it didn't go through. They give me a warning, man. And I was like, man, F. I was inside my brain, right? In my soul, I was like, F you. I don't give a damn. And truly, I didn't give a damn. Even though I was the top 5 salesman in the nation. In the nation, guys. The top 5. I even broke the record of selling 35 applications in one day. Never heard before. But the lack of empathy, it was something that I didn't want to deal with.
unpaid vacation annually. And in Germany, that is at least almost a month to
A
6
month and a half,
months
yeah.
of vacation. I'm not sure if it's 6 months, but at least a month of vacation days it can earn in a year. And I'm like, oh my gosh, that's unheard of. I mean, in the military in America, you get, 30 days and you can stack up to 60 days in a year, but you have to be in the military for that, which a lot of people are not. So it's just very interesting.
Or you're a
looking at
teacher.
something like that.
I think teachers, they do have like 3 months of, dang, they have a lot. They have a 3 months vacation time in a year. Teachers, I think. But teachers,
I can say after our shenanigans this year with those tariffs and the border security being a little wonky in America, a lot of people have issued travel warnings to their respective countries to not travel to the United States because we're a loose cannon at this point, and it's very unfortunate. I actually feel pretty guilty traveling to other countries and whatnot after I see what keeps happening in my own country, and I'm like, man, what is the perception of Americans to the world? Is it just the perception of the government or the government and its people? But the second lie that I was told that was absolutely massive is that America is the best country in the entire world. And we're essentially the world's police, and the world would crumble without America. And I do not think that would be entirely true. I obviously know that not to be true. I don't think there is an ultimate best country, honestly. I think the world needs every single country, every single type of people, and I do believe that if we can all work together, we can achieve wonderful things. Now, with the statement America being the best country in the world, we can't even get our education right. When it comes to police, I made a whole video on how American cops, or USA cops, work in comparison to cops in Europe, and night and day. The training for the average United States cop pales in comparison to the training for the average European cop, and I understand they're two entirely different environments, but you would think that police in America would require more training with what
I
we have
agree
to
with
go
that.
through.
This is something that I agree with James. Our police need more training. And not only more training, at least 2 hours a week of training, guys. Some of these people, they just go ballistic. They just go ballistic. And some of them, even in this picture, this guy on the left, he's out of shape. He's out of shape. The reason you want to have constant training is because when you're in a high risk environment, you have to be composed. You cannot be composed if you're not training properly. And we're just giving a lot of badges like nothing, like candy. I agree with you,
out
Jamesy.
here versus in Europe and whatnot, especially with the uptick in gun violence. I'm like, oh my gosh, I know I've brought that up a lot, but with something like that, you would think that there would be years and
Yeah.
years of
Yep.
training, like at least 2 to 3 years of training for American
Yeah.
cops, just like in Europe. But no, man, it's it don't work like that, and it's unfortunate. And you can see that firsthand with how a lot of situations are handled, and it's
Yep.
very unfortunate. Now let's talk about the education system. I do feel like our lack of depth in our education system has actually caused a lot of people to be what they are now. I mean,
Yeah.
they believe the first thing that comes across their screens, and they
Mm-hmm.
believe in a lot of the fear mongering that gets presented in front of them instead of doing their own research. One of the simple things I think is a direct result of America's lack of education, quality of education, is the lack of critical thinking. It is actually
Correct.
insane because a lot of people do not want to do their own research. A lot of
Yep.
people don't question things that happen. They just kind of accept it as it is.
As it
and they
is.
don't wonder why things are happening. And I think that's unfortunate. It's not everybody. Again, that's not everybody, but it's a vast majority of people to a point where it has become a problem, and America has become a laughingstock because of it. And I find that to be very unfortunate. When I was in Germany traveling around and whatnot, I was so surprised with how active the average person was in their community and knowing what was going on in their surrounding environment.
Well, they have a sense of community. They have a sense of community. But here's the thing, guys. A sense of community comes from years of cultural environment. Years of cultural environment. Why? Because they built the community. See? And I think a lot of Americans do not understand this. Let me just say this and just say it. And that way the people from the back of the church can listen or hear it. A lot of Americans don't understand how communities are built. They don't understand. And I see that a lot in a lot of these videos. They don't understand. They just think that Europe is like that because it's Europe. No. See, and I don't like that because they're not taking Europe serious. They're not taking the work that they have done. They're not understanding the culture that they built for years. They don't understand that. And I'm even talking about Americans that they like Europe, but they don't understand it. And personally, I think it's kind of disrespectful in a way. Ignoring the fact that the reason a lot of these places, they're part of the community because it was built for generations. Long generations, guys. Right? And that's something as Americans, we have to understand this. If we want America to be a great country, we have to respect our traditions, right? And just focus more on communities. Something that we don't do. My opinion.
And knowing and understanding and wanting to explore more as to what was happening in the world around them. I do feel like you get trapped in your own bubble in the United States, and it's almost frowned upon to wonder what else is happening outside of the United States or what impacts the US is having on other countries or vice versa. People don't think that big, and it's unfortunate. It's not everybody, like I said, but it's enough people where I was shocked to see people who actually cared about being heavily involved in those types of things when I did travel. And I'm like, oh wow, I never thought of that. I also didn't realize how small the world really is when you do get out of your own country and stuff. You find things that you like about your own country, your home country, and things that you don't really appreciate too much. And I think although America, I will always pride America for being a place where you have a conglomerate of free thinkers. It's becoming more and more sketchy and I guess more frowned upon to question things happening around you and inquire on things that everybody should just accept, right? Healthcare. Everybody in America hates the healthcare system here. And when we question why it is so bad, we get the same song and dance. Oh, it's not bad. You guys just don't understand how it works. And maybe if you work a little harder, you can
Our healthcare system is kind of weird, man. I ain't gonna lie. How is it that you have healthcare? You're paying for it every month. You still have to pay a copay. That's for me. That's the weirdest thing ever. Mine is covered. I don't have to pay anything. Never had a bill. just to let some folks know out there, not every American gets billed. Never got a bill. Have 4 kids. My wife go to the doctor all the time. We're good over here. It's not always that we don't get bills over here. However, I can recognize that our system is trash compared to a lot of places. The reason is pharma has something to do with it. And to be honest, guys, I really don't know. I really don't know. That's something that probably I have to go and go deeper and understand why is that the case. Why isn't that in Germany, in Europe, it's a little bit better, right? And the Americans suck. So I have to be honest. I really don't know. Really don't know. But our system sucks. That I can say.
Afford better health care. Why is it that in America we are afraid to be taken away in an ambulance because of a hospital bill? We're afraid of going to the hospital because of hospital bills. But in Germany, right, let alone like a lot of Europe, you go to the hospital and your bill is virtually nothing. It's a tiny micro fraction of what you would be paying in the United States. Okay, you stay in the hospital for 5 days in the United States, you're going to rack up a bill of $100,000. But in Germany,
Also, a lot of man, I have so many stories. So my wife, they needed to just have an emergency, right? So we had to call the ambulance. When the ambulance came, there was a couple dudes, big two, 6'5", 6'4". There was a big woman. I'm telling you, that woman was probably 250 pounds, guys. I'm not kidding. I'm not lying. When I saw that, I almost had a heart attack. I'm like, why this person that is supposed to be working with the ambulance in the hospital, this person isn't healthy, probably looks like she's gonna have a heart attack, is picking up my wife? We have a lot of very unhealthy healthcare workers as well. That's another thing. We have healthcare workers, nurses, fat. We have doctors that they look that they're gonna die the same day that they're supposed to give you a recommendation to feel better. We have the healthcare system in our system is not even catering to the best of the best because they're unhealthy themselves.
maybe 20, maybe $20, maybe a little bit more, but not much. I thought the whole idea when America keeps preaching America first, Americans first, it doesn't really feel like that. It doesn't feel like that. Again, we got a long ways to go to see dramatic improvement, and there's constant change and tension and what have you in the space, and I get to see that firsthand. It's just unfortunate, it's very unfortunate, and I had a giant cloak over my eyes until I traveled outside of the United States. Now, there are some things that I truly appreciated about the United States when I left that I was like, oh, okay, like this shock to me is like paying for water, for instance, right? I'm like, oh my God. Yes, you can pay for water in the States as well, but
It's
if
free.
you go to
Most of
any
the time it's free.
restaurant, it's free, right? You get water
Yeah,
as a
it's free.
complimentary drink and anywhere you go. Now, on the flip side, we have a horrible tipping culture in the United States, so it is a little wonky. But other things too.
Meaning, like, we give too much tips, right? I agree with that. The tipping culture has gotten so crazy that people are right now just asking for 100% tip. Not lying. Not lying. When my wife, we used to live in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. She was doing her hair. They charged her $200 just to cut her hair. On top of that, almost 100% tip. And I told her, she called me. I said, nope. For that alone, zero.
To like just
Zero.
simple goals.
It's
and
just the
stuff.
audacity. The audacity that you just take advantage of your customer. Man, I don't do that, man. I'll give you $1 just to let you know that, hey, this is not okay, and I'll write it down in your receipt.
We have very eccentric goals in the United States, and in Europe it's a lot more realistic. And because it's more realistic, the idea of being as creative as you want gets shot down a lot more than I would say in the United States. If you guys disagree with that, let me know in the comments down below. But that's just an observation I've made, and I made that observation in Germany specifically. One thing that I noticed when I traveled to Germany is how aware people were of everyone else's personal space and the impact that they as individuals had on their surrounding environment. Hear me out. Americans are loud, very loud. I live in Korea currently, and me and some friends went out to go shopping and whatnot, and we're on the train, and I'm keeping my voice down and whatnot because I know naturally I'm very, very loud. So I kept my voice as low as I could, but then my friends are yelling at me, even though they're like about a foot away from me. They're like, hey, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, oh my gosh. And I can see every single person on the train looking at us like annoyed, and they're like, oh my God, when do they get off the train?
Yeah,
What's
that's
their
true.
stop? Because
This is, oh man, I can go on and on and on, guys. I can't. I'm telling you,
is ridiculous.
He's right. He's right.
Unfortunately, that is very common. Culture shock, a cultural difference, whatever. I just know that this is a cultural trait that I wanted to take with me back to the United States. In Europe, in Germany, people were like that too. They were very quiet. They were kept to themselves. They made sure that they didn't bother each other and whatnot. This also is in regards to small talk as well. Like the unnecessary conversations just don't happen. So I'm like, wow, I can apply that to the United States. And yeah, of course, when you operate like that, your environment becomes a lot more safe. People aren't agitated, they aren't antsy, they're doing their own thing, and you do eventually become a lot more safe. You feel safer in the environment that you're in, and I think that's pretty cool. So anyway, the idea of just simply relaxing, kicking back, and enjoying life, and that being acceptable and people actually being okay with that, I think I was more shocked at the fact that people didn't want to max out their lives and, you know, buy private jets and have crazy big penthouses and Bugattis and whatever, and they're just like, yeah, dude, I just want to barbecue on the weekends and spend time with friends and drink a beer at the local pub with the guys and whatnot. And I'm like, what? That's it? In America, we would look at that as like a lack of ambition, but in Europe, it's like, no, we're appreciating life, something you guys should do as well. The last American lie I was told was how safe the United States is. We're told that because of the Second Amendment right, the right to bear arms, right? We are super safe. If anybody breaks into our house, we can just blast them to the moon. If we go out and someone challenges us, we can just blast them to the moon. If we have an issue, we can rely on our police to take care of it. And the police don't have a good reputation, as you can probably observe in the United States, for very clear reasons. When I traveled to Germany, the public perception of the police was entirely different. It's not like people were glazing the police, right? But they did feel far safer there than they did in the States. And I'm like, oh my gosh, like the police were just chilling. They weren't hostile. They were just walking around minding their own business. I actually had never in my life seen so many people casually just socialize with cops. Just casually socialize. Talk to them like they were like, you know, buddy on the street a little bit. And I'm like, what? What the heck? People taking pictures with them and stuff like that. People aspiring to be law enforcement. That's a thing. And I'm like, what? Now, I'm not saying we don't have individuals like that in the United States, but the vast majority of people want to stay as far away from that as possible, let alone like people having to feel like they need to have a gun on them, right? It's ironic. People are told in the United States that you will be far safer if you have a gun, but in my head, and from what I've observed, it almost makes the situation you're in even more intense, because there are a vast majority of Americans who are not afraid of guns. That's just a normalcy in the United States. So if someone breaks into your house and, you know, you have a gun or whatever, right, you can defend yourself, and that's great. If you're in public, especially in states where you can open carry and just have it on your hip, to me, I don't think that's a deterrent. I think that just means that's the level of force someone has to meet you with to rob you. And now the situation has gone from 0 to 1,000 because everybody in the vicinity has a possible chance of getting hit with bullets. There was an incident after a Super Bowl a few years ago where two people got into an altercation. One of the individuals pulled out a gun and opened fire, and mind you, they're in a crowded area, and mind you, someone else heard the shots and decided to fire back in the direction of where the person heard the shots coming from. Another individual pulled out their gun and started shooting as well, and it was horrible. Everybody but the intended people were getting hit. And I'm like, what the heck? And it's something like my friends and I joked about in high school. I'm like, man, what if there's a mass shooting and nobody knows who originated the shots, right? And we just see two people firing at each other, and then a third person decides to interject and save everybody by shooting. It's safe, because there are obviously elements to Europe that are not safe at all. And I'm very aware of that, but I was just so taken back by the day-to-day in, you know, the biggest cities to the smallest towns and whatnot. In America, all right, small towns, hive mindset, which is also true in Europe as well, but the likelihood of people being more hostile is not as high, I would say, as in the United States. Now, I could be wrong, and you guys can let me know in the comments down below, because again, I haven't traveled all over Europe. I've traveled to the Netherlands, Germany, and Belgium. So from what I've observed, people just seem like they're minding their own business. In America, man, it's just different, bro. Like, people need to make a statement all the time, and if they don't like you, we gotta let let you know. We can't just do it in silence and, you know, be quiet about it. And
We
I'm
have
like,
to let you know.
"Man,
That's funny.
like, what the heck? I don't know. It's very different, and it's something that I noticed was a definite issue. Things that I feel like could improve in America for sure. And I know a lot of people are going to feel a little different about this. They might agree, they might disagree, but that's just my experience and what I've come to realize. And honestly, there are a lot more lies that I was told and stuff in the United
There's a
States
bunch of them.
about America that I debunked almost immediately after traveling and getting to experience the world myself. My advice to anybody watching this video that is from the United States, please, 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 if you ever get the chance, leave the United States, even if it's for a couple days, maybe a week. If you can afford it, at some point in your life, just travel outside the United States and see for yourself how the world actually functions. One big thing I will say before I leave is how we receive news, right? Part of the safety, the feeling of feeling safe in America is killed by what we watch on the news. If you
That's
watch
100% guy. The music, it's too much, man. I have to agree.
the average news outlet in Europe, anywhere, people are getting raw, uncut, unfiltered news from every angle possible. In the United States, we got Fox, we got CNN, MSNBC, and ABC, whatever. They all got their agendas, man, and it's like extreme agendas. So the stories are always skewed and distorted and
weird,
warped, and it pits two ends against the middle. It's insane and very divisive. So a lot of key details.
What do you guys think? Let me know in the comment section below. What do you think about that statement? I would love to hear you guys' opinion on that.
Left out, and I feel like if you want to get the full story, you got to start watching news sources from other countries, because they're telling way more parts of a story that you've witnessed in their country than we're receiving in our own country, which I think is diabolical. But long story short, definitely get out there, definitely travel. You will not regret it. It is one of the most enriching feelings I feel like in the world. It is scary because you don't know what's out there, but it's also very fulfilling and eye-opening, and the likelihood of you having a more open mind is through the roof once you leave your local area. But if you guys resonated with any of that,
very good, man. Very good. Thank you so much, James. That's very good video. Amazing video. I think he has a very good point. Definitely, definitely there's a good amount of, I would say, very good video, man, overall. Nice job, James. I think a lot of Americans, they have to travel outside the United States to really understand what's going on, man. A lot of them, they're probably stuck up. I don't know, man. There's a lot of things here in the United States that I just see and I'm like, man, I genuinely, I just simply don't understand. I wish I can give you guys an answer, but I can't. I simply can't. I simply can't. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. I would love to hear you guys' opinions. So we'll see you next time.